Today, we're going to explore 3 really powerful ways of thinking, you can call them mental models, that can completely change how you create, build, and solve pretty much any problem. We're going to dive into the mindsets of the artisan, the scientist, and the engineer to see how you can upgrade your approach to any challenge you face. But it all starts with this one big question. How do you build something that's truly great? Whether it's a company, a new product, a piece of art, or hey, even just a better system for your own life? Where do you even begin? Do you follow a map that someone else has already drawn, or do you start drawing your own? Well, on one side, you've got the good old path of convention, basically just following a recipe. It's safe, it's predictable, and it's guided by that classic phrase, that's just how it's always been done. But on the other side, there's a path of really deep understanding, writing your own recipe from scratch. And that means you have to dig for the fundamental reasons why things work. It's way more challenging for sure, but that's where real innovation happens. To really get into this, let's use a metaphor. Think of your brain as the computer hardware. Now, the crucial part isn't the hardware itself, but the software it's running, right? Your beliefs, your thought patterns, your methods for making decisions. And here's the amazing thing. You can upgrade that software. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're installing 3 powerful new programs into our mental toolkit. First up, the artisan's craft. Our first piece of software comes from a Japanese philosophy known as monozukuri. At its heart, it's all about the relentless, non-stop pursuit of perfection through refinement. So what exactly is monozukuri? Well, people often translate it as just making things, but it's so much deeper than that. It's the art, the science, and the craft of making things. It's a spirit of total dedication and this deep appreciation for the creative process itself. And here's a really key difference. In the West, when we talk about craftsmanship, we often put the spotlight on the man, the individual creator, and their personal skill. Monozukuri is different. It emphasizes the mono, which is the thing being made, and the zukuri, the actual act of making. The product and the process are the heroes of the story, not the individual. It's a philosophy built on humility and pure dedication to the work. So how do you actually put this into practice? Well, it's all about eliminating what are known as the 3 Mus. First, you get rid of muri, that's overburden, any activity that's just unreasonable or too much. Second, you eliminate muda, that's waste, anything at all that doesn't add value. And third, you remove muda, that's inconsistency, which leads to uneven results. It's this relentless process of just trimming away anything that isn't excellent. All right, now for our second piece of software. If monozukuri is all about perfecting an existing process, this next model is about blowing up the old process entirely and building something brand new from the ground up. This is the scientist's razor, also known as reasoning from first principles. And you can't talk about this without mentioning its most famous champion today, Elon Musk. He puts it like this: you have to build up the reasoning from the ground up. He says that too often, people just do things because it's always been done that way, and that's just a ridiculous way to think. First principles thinking basically means you ignore convention, you ignore what everyone else is doing, you boil a problem down to its most fundamental truths, the things you know for an absolute fact, and you build your solution up from there. You assume nothing. Here is a fantastic way to picture the difference. Imagine flood geologists. They start with a conclusion that's already fixed. Say, the Bible is literally true, and then they try to bend all the evidence to fit that conclusion. That's reasoning by analogy. On the flip side, you have science geologists. They start with a totally blank slate and build their conclusions only from the evidence they gather. That right there is the essence of first principles thinking. And this approach has world-changing power. I mean, look, when Elon Musk wanted to build rockets, everyone knew they were insanely expensive. But he went back to first principles. He asked, what is a rocket actually made of? He calculated the cost of the raw materials, the aluminum, the titanium, the carbon fiber, and he discovered they were only 2% of a rocket's typical price tag. The other 98% was just how those atoms were arranged. That single realization is literally why SpaceX exists today. Okay, so we've got the path of refinement and the path of revolution. What's our third piece of software? This one is the engineer's blueprint. It's a highly structured, super systematic approach from Germany known as the VDI 2221 standard. The whole goal of VDI 2221 is to give you a bulletproof roadmap. It's a formal methodology that guides engineers through a really complex design, making sure every single angle is considered to find the most efficient and optimal solution. Think of it less like a philosophy and more like a rigorous, repeatable instruction manual for getting things done right. The process moves through these 4 very clear phases, as you can see here. It starts with this exhaustive list of every single requirement. Then it moves to the abstract concepts. Then it gives the design a physical form. And finally, it details every last component. It's this structured journey that takes you step by step from a vague idea to a concrete, buildable reality. And this is not just theory. VDI 2021 is used to create incredibly complex, real-world systems. Everything from hydraulic machines and specialized test equipment to automated vehicles. When you absolutely need a reliable, step-by-step blueprint for a tough technical challenge, this is the software you run. So there we have it, the artisan, the scientist, and the engineer. 3 powerful but pretty different approaches. So how do we put them all together? Well, the key is to see them not as competing philosophies, but as different tools in a single toolkit. And this table just pulls it all together perfectly. Look, if you want to improve a system that already exists, you use the artisan's craft and you ask, how can we make this better? If you need radical innovation, you use the scientist's razor, asking, what is fundamentally true here? And for those complex projects that demand reliability, you pull out the engineer's blueprint and ask, what's the next logical step? And here it is, the ultimate takeaway. The goal isn't to label yourself as an artisan or a scientist or an engineer. It's to become a master builder who can think like all 3. True mastery is knowing exactly which tool to pull from your toolkit for the job at hand. You could use first principles to invent a revolutionary new product, then VDI 2221 to systematically engineer it, and finally Monozukuri to perfect the manufacturing process. So as you face your next project, your next problem, your next big idea, the question isn't just what you're going to build, it's how you're going to build it. Which software will you choose to run?